Hi, it's Daphne. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm gonna walk you through the books I read in November. So in November, I completed 7 books. The first one I read was Glow by Raven Kennedy. This is the 4th book in her Plated Prisoners series. And I was really excited to get to this book after reading the 3rd one. Like, it just left off on such a heart-wrenching kind of cliffhanger. And I was so invested in the story. I was so invested in our main heroine, Oren. But the 4th book, I just unfortunately did not love. I ended up giving it 3 stars. It was fine. I just don't know where the author is going with the story. The romance is like fun, like their budding relationship and their chemistry and stuff is fun. But for the most part, they're together already. There were aspects of Oren that were really intriguing with her power and just like her physicality, but that literally got taken away in the 3rd book, and I was like hoping it would just magically be all fixed again, and it wasn't. I don't want to talk about it for too long, but ironically, I felt the book was too long, and there was this whole aspect with like a trial, and I just knew how it was going to end anyway, so I just like skimmed it, and it was like 100 pages or something. So I don't know, not interested that much in continuing, but we'll see what happens. Like, if I find the synopsis intriguing enough for the 5th book, maybe I'll pick it up, but my passion for the series has kind of dwindled. Then another major series that I continued was the Ice Planet Barbarian series. I don't even know what number I'm on. This one was called Barbarian's Lady. It's the 13th one in the series. So if you don't already know, this is like a novella series. It's like sci-fi with blue, sexy giant aliens with tails. And it's just a fun time. Like, there are hits and misses in the series, and this one I would say is just like middle of the road. It was about a new human that's been brought onto this planet. Just like imagine kind of like a Viking type woman. Like, she's like over 6 feet. She's got big blonde curly hair. Her life on Earth, she felt really insecure about like being like just a large human being. But for this alien, he is obsessed with that. He's like, oh, these other humans are so fragile and small, and how could they like, wouldn't the other aliens just be like worried that their partner's just gonna like break? So he finds her scale to be really attractive, and he says that to her, but she thinks he's just teasing her. So it's their little banter, chemistry. She is really strong. Like, she saves the hero. She like carried him on her back. Like, she's BA. And yeah, it's just like a middle of the road solid for the series. Not my favorite. I definitely have favorites where the chemistry is like off the charts. This one was just like, oh, that was a cool story. I'm glad you're happy now. Yeah. And then I read The Wicked Deep for my IRL book club here at my apartment complex. I should come up with like an unofficial name for this book club. That way it's easier for me to reference it with you guys. I'm gonna run it by the group and I'll get back to you on that, but that would make life easier. Anyway, so this is like a paranormal witchy YA book. It's not something I would have normally picked up, but I did have a fun time at reading it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. So it's about, I think they're in like Washington State or something like that, some kind of area like that in the US. It's a very small town, and this town is cursed because there were these 3 sisters that the town thought were witches like 300 years ago, and the town like turned against them. They thought they were like seductresses, like taking their men and cursing people, when they weren't. They were just regular women. So the town executed them. They like tied stones to their ankles and like threw them out into the bay, which is pretty dark. So now the town is cursed by these 3 sisters, and every year girls in the town get possessed by these souls of these sisters, and they go out and kill the boys in the town. It was a really fun time. There were reveals that legitimately shocked me. There is a bit of romance as well, which I found very compelling. I had a good time. Though, I mean, it's not perfect. There were some plot holes that we had a good time talking about at book club. But overall, it was a hit. I would recommend that if you're looking for like a witchy YA. It was definitely a solid read. Then I read my book of the month October pick, Sign Here. I was really excited about this. I don't think I've like picked up a book of the month book this quickly in a while, like after I just bought it. This is a story about a soul that works in hell. He's like, the way hell works, it's like broken up into levels, and he's in like a nicer floor working in hell where he has to sign people's souls away. So he like makes deals with humans on earth, gets their souls and like gives them whatever they want, and then they get sent to hell. So like that's his job, i.e. the Sign Here. And it's just so, it was like really comedic in the beginning. So it's described where like at his office, because it's hell, like you have to try 5 pens before one pen finally writes. There's no drinks besides like Jägermeister. It's always like uncomfortably warm. When he goes home, there's always like an ice cream truck like constantly going around, like annoying him, or like sirens blaring, just like the most annoying things in everyday life. Is just like a constant in hell, which is amusing. But the story did go further than that. I think a lot of people thought it was just gonna be like goofy the whole way through, but it does get more serious. He's targeting this specific family for reasons that will eventually be revealed, but he's targeting this specific family to like sign a lot of their souls away. And the ending, oh my God. Like I would say this book is like pretty light thriller, with some funny aspects, but the ending was so touching. It like ripped my heart out. I just finished it and I had to sit there for a while and like absorb it, and then I just started crying. Just started crying. It was just so beautiful. So if you've read this, you know that final reveal and that final decision that our main character makes. It's just so good. It was just so good. I ended up giving this 4 stars. For people that are used to thrillers, maybe they will think, oh, like whatever. But for somebody that doesn't like read this kind of book, like I had a really great time, and I would definitely recommend it if you're trying to get into that kind of funny thriller genre and you're not an expert at it already. For the experts, I don't know. But for me, I really, really loved it. And the end, oh my God, it's just so good. I just read it to get to the end so you can know what I know. Then I read the second book in Elsie Silver's Chestnut Springs series. It's called Heartless. I loved this as well. It's a small town cowboy kind of romance. Like our hero isn't necessarily a cowboy, but like they work on a farm, they're out in the country, so it's that kind of vibe. So our hero, Cade, he is a single dad. His son is maybe like 5, and he's like his wife, or his ex-wife is like still alive, but she's like trash. And he desperately needs someone to help him with his son. His previous nanny has gotten older and she's like, I can't do this anymore. Your son's getting too big. I can't chase him around. So he really needs someone to come in and help him in the summertime while his kid's like not in school. The heroine from the first book recommends her friend Willa for the job. Willa doesn't really need the job. She's just kind of like spontaneous. She's not really grounded in anything. She has like famous parents, so she's very well off financially. Usually she does like these horse competitions or whatever, but her horse is injured, so she has free time. So when her friend recommends her for the job so she could be like around her more, she's like, okay, why not? I'm not doing anything anyway. And it's Willa and Cade's romance, and you get to see like Cade's son Luke a lot as well, and he's a very fleshed out human being in the story. He's not just like a plot device. And just seeing Willa fall in love with this kid, and then her falling in love with Cade, and Cade just not being able to resist her and being like, I haven't needed a woman in so long. This girl is like shaking up my life. He's very grumpy, and Willa doesn't take shit. Like, he was rude to her and she's like, fine, then I quit. Like, I don't need this. And he's like, wait a second, you're just gonna quit? She's like, yeah, I don't need you, you know? I really liked it. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. And I would highly recommend. I liked it way more than the first one. The first one was fun, but this one was just so good. I just loved it. I loved all the characters in it, and I'm excited to continue on if Elsie Silvers is writing at this caliber. The next book I read in November was Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. So I have a vlog reading this book. I actually went to her book signing event in New York City, which was so cool. It was really interesting to hear her process and her thoughts on these characters as the creator of them. Seeing all the excitement of the other people at the event was just really cool. I got to meet some really friendly, nice book readers there. This is a story about a divorced couple. This is their second chance romance. They're older, they have preteen children, they run a business together, so their lives are still really entangled. The drama comes in when our hero starts to move on. It's been 2 years since their divorce. He didn't want the divorce. She asked for the divorce because a tragedy happened. A couple tragedies hit them back to back, and the way they were processing and grieving weren't compatible, and they were just hurting each other. Not physically, but emotionally. So she asked for the divorce, and he's now trying to move on. He's dating, and she's like, hold up a second. Why am I having feelings? Why am I so bothered? And it's them getting through, and there's a lot of talk of therapy, her going to therapy, her son going to therapy because he's a more advanced student, and his teachers just want to make sure he's mature enough, and the father, to convince the son to not be scared of therapy, agrees to finally go to therapy himself. When they were getting divorced, he was not open to it. He thought therapy was just nonsense, and he didn't try for her. So now he's finally trying for his child, and it opens his mind up to how he really feels about things, and gives them both the chance to heal and reconnect. And it's really touching. The first half was tearing me to pieces. I was being tortured with the sadness and the heartache in the best way possible. And then the second half, you finally get some hope, which was much needed, and I loved it. I gave it a solid 4 stars. I would highly recommend. I would recommend anything Kennedy Ryan writes, but just go in knowing she's gonna rip your heart to shreds. So I love this. And then the last book I read in November was Elsie Silver's older series. I think it's called Gold Rush Ranch. And the first book is Off to the Races. And unfortunately, the writing she's doing in her most recent series, Chestnut Springs, is far superior than this first book in her older series. I guess this might have been her debut. So I gave it 3 stars. This is another country horse related book. So our hero, his grandfather recently passed, and he's trying to take over the business of this ranch where they breed and train these high competition racehorses. So he's from a wealthy family, and he's quite in the public eye. And then our heroine, Billy, is a horse trainer, and he brings her on thinking she's a man, and is very shocked when she's a beautiful young woman. They obviously have chemistry and attraction towards each other. I just thought their banter was really weird, because it's a professional relationship, but right off the bat, they just are really rude and inappropriate in not a cute way, in my opinion. So I didn't vibe with it. I also thought Billy was really immature and stupid. I don't know. I just did not vibe with her. She was just silly. I thought her logic was not great, but it was fine. I give it 3 stars. But Chestnut Springs is way better. I'm gonna maybe try to continue on to the second book in the series, because I know Elsie Silver's writing is at a level that I really enjoy. So maybe further into the series, she's honed her craft a little bit more. So maybe I'll continue, but I'm just more excited about Chestnut Springs series versus this Gold Rush Ranch series. All right, so those are all the books I read in November. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave it a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in another video. Bye.